Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Bruno. I'm with AXUS team, and welcome to our 12th already edition of our AXUS Point webinar, Destination Webinars. Today we have with us Matueté, Brazil, which is a DMC on-site based in Sao Paulo and operating Brazil. And Pedro Treacher is going to be the Matueté person here, director, who's going to present their services and services and basically experiences. Just a couple of reminders before we start. For any questions you have, please place them in the chat box and we will address them at the end, and Pedro will make sure to answer all of them. And also this presentation is recorded, so we're going to place it on our support library recorded webinars section, so you can always go back to it to review part of the presentation. Also to comment on Matueté with AXUS, they're one of the first adopters outside of the US that adopted AXUS, I think back in 2016, I believe. And they are really good at using AXUS, at creating great documents. So you can count on them if you wish to collaborate with them in AXUS. And also that they are a public library vendor. So if you go in your library section and select them as one of the options of the dropdown in the public library portion of the page, you will be able to see many of their templates. So now let me introduce you Pedro Treacher, an ex-colleague of mine. I worked in Matueté for many years, so it's a pleasure to have him with us. Pedro, it's all yours.
Hey, Bruno, and hi, everyone. It's great to be here. So thank you, Bruno, and the AXUS team for making this possible. It will be nice to tell you a bit about Brazil and a bit about Matueté, especially during this troubled times. So let's get started here. I'm assuming you all able to see my screen, the presentation here. So let me start telling you a bit about Matueté. First thing, Matueté means very well done in the indigenous language Tupi-Guarani. So that is something that we are always in pursuit. We've been operating Brazil for 19 years, and Brazil only. I think Brazil is big enough, so we chose not to operate on other South American destinations, which makes it possible to visit and revisit all destinations we operate and make sure we're up to date and sharp with everything. Another thing about Matueté, we're also an outbound agency, virtuoso travel agency, which is very interesting to have another company, right, a travel agency under the same roof, because it allows you to do benchmarks around the world and make sure you're always up to date with high quality standards and exchange a lot with good practices around the world. One thing which is also interesting about Matueté is that domestic market is our #1 market, and that kept us fully operational and sharp during the pandemic. It was really nice to see that. Of course, we had a major blow, and we had, as everyone, most of our trips canceled or postponed, but it's very nice to see that Brazilians are traveling within Brazil, and we have clients on the field at the moment visiting either the Amazon or Lençóis Maranhenses or some of the places I'm going to show you today. And in addition to what a general DMC offers, we also have a private villa division, a private air division, and we operate private yachts. So this composes most of our services. So let's talk about Brazil then. Why I think Brazil is a great destination to consider when travel is back, whenever that may be. First point is that Brazil has lots of outdoors and secluded beaches. So, for example, you can think of the Amazon, the Pantanal, some trekking destinations we have in the countryside. And we also have more than 9,000 kilometers of coastline, which is just a bit more than 5,500 miles. So literally thousands of beaches around, easy to explore, and you can always find a beach with no one else around. Second point is that by the way the travel industry developed in Brazil, we ended up having, especially in the hospitality industry, small properties. We have lots of family-run small boutique hotels, which we love. First, because it gives you a different thing in comparison with big chain hotels, because you have that uniqueness of small properties. And also, for this moment, it's easy to do buyouts, or at least when planning holidays for families or for couples, you will only have maybe 2 or 3 families traveling and staying at the same places, which is something nice to have at the moment. As I've mentioned, we have our private villa division, and this is the only thing that is booming in Brazil at the moment. We've seen the villa business ramping up, and with lots of options around the country, we currently have 62 different properties throughout Brazil. There are lots of options to explore and use private villas as a base to explore that destination. And the fourth point, which are the private yachts. And here I like to say that mainly in the Amazon, we do have great lodges in the Brazilian Amazon, but exploring the Amazon with private yachts, in my opinion, is by far the best way to do so. So I'd like to start the presentation showing you and telling you a bit about that experience. So first thing, yes, this is an Amazon beach. Few people realize that some of the most beautiful beaches in Brazil are located in the Amazon. So as you can see here, this part of the Amazon, which is the Tapajós River, has crystal clear waters and white sand beaches. That is why when the famous French explorer Jacques Cousteau did his famous trip to the Amazon, he named this region the Caribbean of the Amazon. So I took this picture some years ago when I did this trip with my family, and lots of things strikes me about it. The first one is you cannot see the other side of the river. So rivers here are huge, and it builds up a very impressive scenario. And so moving on, this is the Negro River, which is very different from the Tapajós River in the first picture. And I selected this one also to show you a very different yacht. So in the first picture here, we have the Tupayu yacht, which is a small, charming local boat. And our portfolio of yachts ranges up to these kind of super yacht that could be sailing the Mediterranean. And this is the right option for super VIPs that needs always the best of the best. So what do you do in a trip like that? You do forest trekking, you explore small tributaries with canoes and local canoes or smaller boats. You visit small communities on the riverbanks, small fishermen communities, and this is a great interaction with communities like that. We operate some active or very active activities such as the tree climbing. This is a tree climbing up on Amapazero, which is one of the tallest trees in the Amazon. It reaches 50 to 60 meters tall. So you climb up the tree and you have amazing views over the canopies because it stands like 5 to 10 meters taller than all trees around. So beautiful views, very nice activity, and this builds a perfect family vacation. You know, most people think that it's dangerous to swim in the Amazon rivers, but in this region, it's perfectly safe to swim, and it's one of the things that we do most. And it's almost mosquito-free, so it ends up being a great family vacation. And usually on the last night, you build up a very special dinner. So you have your boat docked in one of these Amazon beaches, and we put up this beach dinner only for the family or for the group of friends, which is something memorable. So we have yachts here from 3 to 16 cabins. So this trip here, as you see, many people on the picture, this was operated in one of our bigger yachts. So next destination is Lençóis Maranhenses, which is in the northernmost part of Brazil. And I always keeps asking myself, why Lençóis Maranhenses is still off the radar for most international travelers, because this is a really unique place in the world. So you can see, as you can see in the picture, this is a white sand desert where rains torrentially during the first quarter of the year, or during from, let's say, January to April. And what happens is that the rain forms these freshwater lagoons, and you have this amazing scenario with thousands of sand dunes with freshwater lagoons all around. And we explore it with 4x4s, with quad bikes as well. Kids, they go absolutely crazy about this place. Can you imagine? They just keep running around, rolling down the dunes, swimming up the dunes, and then sandboarding. They just go crazy with a trip to this place. Do some snorkeling in the lagoons, and horseback riding, kite surfing. And when you're tired of it, we put up like a special picnic in one of these lagoons, only for the guests, with no one else around. And well, this is one of my favorite experiences in the country, a place that just a few international travelers been to. This is mainly off the radar and still a striking destination. So on the last day, to give you an idea of the size of Lençóis Maranhenses, we usually charter a small aircraft, and we take clients back to the main airport with this small aircraft, and so you can do this incredibly scenic overflight here. So next destination is the Pantanal, which is the biggest wetlands in the world and great for wildlife enthusiasts. This is the best place in the world outside Africa to spot wildlife. This is the example of one of the lodges that we take guests there. It's the Cayman Lodge. And it's all about safari, spotting wildlife, and interacting with nature. The star of the region is the jaguar, where you can see here calmly sleeping in a tree. This is the third biggest cat in the world, and well, it's very impressive and always very nice to interact with this animal. So if you have clients that are always interested and goes to Africa and like safari, the Pantanal is the Brazilian answer to that. It's really impressive, the quantity and diversity of animals you encounter, from birds to mammals and many other species. So you can do kayaking, also spotting caimans, and so horseback riding, and here are a few more examples of the Amazon, or of the animals you encounter. Beautiful place for photographers and enthusiasts for wildlife in general. And this is the star, the jaguar. Next destination is Chapada Diamantina, which is the Brazilian Mecca for trekkers and active travelers. This is in the Bahian countryside, in the Brazilian heartlands. Great place for trekkers, being that just a day trip where you spend the night at a great hotel with all amenities and go out for day hikes and back to your hotel, or multi-day trekking, sleeping at natives' houses along the way. So beautiful scenarios and amazing waterfalls. This year is the Buracão waterfall. It's the most beautiful waterfall I've been in my life. It's very impressive. What happens is that it forms a hole of 100 meters. It's just a hole in a canyon following it. So you dive and you swim upriver, doing turns around the canyon till you reach the waterfall. It's a very impressive place, and I mean, one of the most beautiful waterfalls in the world. And this is the Fumaça waterfall, 400 meters tall, also one of the biggest waterfalls in the world, accessible with a day hike in Chapada Diamantina. So beach escapes, as I've mentioned, we have more than 9,000 kilometers of coastline, so there's a lot of options of beaches for all tastes and all gangs. So this is Trancoso, for example, in Bahia. This is one of our private villas there, and to show you what is just lying outside the door. So you have kilometers of desert beaches to both sides, depending on where you are, of course. So this is Trancoso. It's during New Year's a place for jet setters, and where one of the biggest parties in the world happens. But for the rest of the year, it's just a small fisherman village with great hotels, great restaurants, and amazing private villas. I'm going to show you a bit more of that later on. Also, Fernando de Noronha. This place is a volcanic island, 400 kilometers outside of the Brazilian coastline. And few people know that Brazil has this volcanic island. It operates daily flights from Recife or Natal, so easy access. And during the right season, which is end of October, the water visibility reaches up to 50 meters. So this is a really world-class diving destinations during the right time of the year, and a great destination for beach lovers. I mean, this is always elected amongst the top 10 of the most beautiful beaches in the world. Jericoacoara, also in the northernmost part of the country, great place for kite surfing, nice restaurants as well, good accommodation, great for active travelers, interesting place to visit. And Paraty, which is not a beach destination itself, it's a small village with cobblestone streets where no cars are allowed in the city center. But once you're there, you get a boat, that being either a speedboat or a fisherman boat, and explore the Paraty Bay, and lots of tiny islands, lush vegetation, with crystal clear waters as well, forming one of the most beautiful parts of the Brazilian coastline. And this is just between Sao Paulo and Rio, so easy access, and we operate it throughout the year. So private villas, as I said, is something that it's a product that I think will be much more stronger after the pandemic than it was before. From what we see in Brazil, most travelers that never considered traveling to private villas before now are desperate trying to find a villa, because not only because, well, the villas are there, it's open, there are no other guests, unbeatable privacy, but also because we have great villas and we deliver impeccable service to the villas. So what we do, we shop for everything. So all F&B, we hire a chef, we buy everything clients need. So when clients arrive, there's no need of discussing the menu or preferences. It's all sorted out and taken care. So here are a few examples of the villas. This is one of my favorite ones in the portfolio. It's a beachfront villa in Trancoso, modern style, 5 suites, beautiful decor. It's just a great place to be, with only being that only for a family or for a small group of friends. And also some options at the countryside, as this one here, with, of course, great pools, great weather for those willing to do horseback riding or hike up the mountains. And to kind of end the presentation, I'm going to show you some things that I miss, that I'm missing in our cities, but not necessarily that we are operating, or that we don't believe that we're going to operate them in the next couple months, or maybe to the end of the year, which are our favorite urban experience, things we love in our cities. So one of them, it's the private sunrise at the Corcovado mountain, which is where the Christ Redeemer is. So this is one of the most VIP experiences in Brazil. So you can get there and with no one else, and build a special setup for a nice breakfast with, I mean, the picture says for itself, great views in a very special place. Also, graffiti workshop in Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo is known for its art, architectural, and food. So a great place for cosmopolitans. And we always keep thinking of when we will have travelers back to these urban experiences, enjoying this kind of activities. And of course, New Year's in Rio. This is, I think it's safe to say, this is the biggest party in the world, where 3 million people dress in white and go out to the Copacabana beach to celebrate the New Year's. I think we're going to have a really different celebration this year, but you know, it's always nice to see how things are and be inspired to when will this happen again. And the carnival, of course. Oh, how I miss carnival. Hopefully next year at some point we will have it, not for February or March when we used to host it, but I'd like to show you this picture because it's all about building the right experience to interact with carnival, or to experience carnival. So this is actually a couple that they are clients of ours, that we got them costumes so they can parade along with the samba school and enjoy carnival really as a local. So in a very brief way, this is why I think Brazil is a great destination to be considered for when travel is back, being that those remote places I've shown you, or this city and, let's say, crowded experiences that will probably take a bit of more time to be able to experience again. But it always kept us inspired when we think of them.
Thank you, Pedro. What a great presentation and amazing pictures and images. It's always very impressive to see those settings in Brazil. Everyone, I've put Pedro's contact also in the chat. If you want to grab it from there as well, it's also on the screen right now. If you have any questions, please, we're here for another couple of minutes or more. So you can put them in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and ask live, it's possible as well. And to comment as well that you can, of course, collaborate with Pedro on any trips you're doing in AXUS. You can invite them as a collaborator, and they can participate to your AXUS. So we have.
Yes, exactly. I invite everyone to check our public library at AXUS. This is a very interesting tool that allows you to access all these destinations and day trips and tours that we have. It's easy and it's there.
Okay. So no questions. I mean, we have great remarks on the presentation itself, but no specific question so far. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you for being with us. Wait, I think we have a question from our neighbor here in Argentina. Pedro, if you want to read it.
Yes, of course. Malena, Brazilian international airports, apart from Rio and Sao Paulo. Well, there are lots of international airports in Brazil. I'll name a few here, or the most important ones. So, Brasilia, you have flights from US and from Europe. Manaus, few people know also, but you have a direct flight from Manaus to Miami, which makes easy to explore the Amazon, even in a short break, let's say as the Thanksgiving. It's a 5-hour flight on the same time zone, so easy to do. Salvador, also in the Brazilian and the Bahian coastline, and Recife and Fortaleza in the northernmost part of the country, and also the Iguazu International Airport, which combines with another destinations in South America.
Question from Matthew, I think the next one.
Question from Matthew. What was the name of the volcanic island again? The name is Fernando de Noronha. I'll type it here. Fernando de Noronha. This is, well, it's beautiful. It's a great place. Just have to avoid the months from late March to late June when it rains a lot. Other than that, safe to go. What else?
Anthony is the next one.
Anthony, is your country locked down to people from America? Also, are masks mandatory or optional? So we're not locked down from people from America. Currently, we're open. And the masks, they're mandatory in most places. Being that the hotels or every time you go out in public, you have to wear masks. And that is why private villas are making this huge success, because once you're in a private villa, you're the one making the calls, your rules. So if you're traveling with your family and you don't want to wear masks inside the villa, there's no need.
And I think David is commenting on Porto Alegre, which I suppose about the international airports you have in Brazil.
International airports.
I think Porto Alegre and Florianópolis. So I guess better if you come from...
Belo Horizonte, there are some other international airports. So this is one very important thing always to have in mind, is to contact us. Always contact Matueté before buying the international flights, because sometimes you save your clients a lot of time by doing the way in Rio, let's say, and the way out in Manaus, for example. So for a US client coming in and doing Rio, a Brazilian beach escape, and then the Amazon, you can easily save 5 or 6 hours of flight time by buying the right international flights.
Okay.
Anyone else?
No, I think we're good for today. We're right on time. So thanks a lot, Pedro, for having shared this nice presentation with us. And everyone, hopefully we'll see you on the next one.
All right. Thank you. Thank you again, Bruno, and the AXUS team. And anyone, whenever you have requests to Brazil, just say hi.